when generations of humans have gone blind, someone gifted with sight becomes either a heretic or a savior. In the 21st century, a deadly virus reduces the population and destroys the sense of vision for those who survived. Centuries later, the idea of vision is considered a myth. A woman named Magra is about to give birth with the help of an older woman, Paris. As Paris sings while massaging her stomach, she notices that the head is coming first, which she considers good news. Magra asks where her husband, Baba Voss, is, and Paris responds that he's busy. However, she wants her husband to hold the baby first. Suddenly, a war horn sounds, worrying Magra. She insists on knowing what's happening, so Paris admits that the Sentiers have reported a raiding tribe approaching their valley, Alkenny. In the village, Baba Voss commands for defense against an army and proceeds to the wall of their valley. He instructs the Sentiers to sense the wind where they feel dogs, horses, men, and a burned beechwood smoke of Queen Cain's Witchfinders. Then, Baba instructs Matal, a presage who has the ability to feel emotions and intentions, to learn the army's intentions. She feels savage intent in the air, so Baba asks Ayuras how big the army is. Ayuras reports a dozen horses and 200 men, and Baba concludes it's not a raiding party but a whole army. Meanwhile, Paris and Magra prepare for her to give birth, but Magra is worried about the attack. Magra senses that Paris isn't telling her something, but Paris claims that she's just an old woman. However, Magra points out she can talk to birds and hear the future in her sleep. Finally, Paris admits that an owl has warned her that the Witchfinders are approaching to find Magra. While the Witchfinders march, their general, Tamakti Jun, waits for a horse to arrive with a trader from Alkenny named Gether Bax. Gether demands to be untied, but Tamakti pulls him off the horse and commands him to kneel. Afraid, Gether reveals that he was the one who told Tamakti to come to their village since he has information about a heretic, Gerla Marel, who killed the queen's sister. Tamakti beats him as he demands more information, so Gether reveals that Magra, a stranger to the Alkenny village, suddenly arrived at the end of winter while she was 3 months pregnant. She never told who the father was, but Gether found a necklace she was wearing with Gerla Marel's name on it. Thus, Gether tells Tamakti that if they attack the village now, Gerla Marel's child will be his. Meanwhile, Magra gives birth to a healthy baby boy. She continues to have contractions. Soon, Magra gives birth to a girl. Thus, her children are twins. In the forest, the Alkenny tribe prepares to battle the Witchfinders. As the enemy climbs the wall, they whip them from above. Suddenly, the enemy becomes silent, making the tribe think they are gone until one of them grabs a member of the tribe. The fight continues, with the Alkenny tribe giving their best to defend their land. The Witchfinders put a ladder on the wall to climb quickly. Men after men charge Baba, but don't stand a chance against him. A Witchfinder catches Baba with a rope on his neck, but he eventually cuts it. As a last resort, he orders everyone to clear the wall. The tribe climbs up, and once everyone is safe, Baba cuts a rope that holds their wall, causing a rock slide that falls on their enemies. Baba requests information from his people about their enemy. While Ayura says their army was barely diminished and the survivors are sheltered behind the river, the presage experiences a sensation of hatred but remains silent. Baba decides that the enemy only gave up a small number of its army, so he orders his people to return to the village and prepare to defend it. On the other hand, Magra tears up as she holds her infants. Paris reminds her that according to Alkenny law, the mother's first uttered name to her child must be the father's name, and that she shouldn't say Baba or else harm will follow. Magra whispers to her babies that Gerla Marel is their father. Magra claims that Gerla Marel was just a stranger, and she wandered from her village after getting lost in a blizzard. However, Paris says that's not what the owls tell her. As the warriors return to their village, Baba tells the rest that the Witchfinders and half of Queen Cain's army are in their land, which confuses them because there are no witches in their village. Baba immediately plans to prepare another defense line before the storm stops. He visits his home and greets Magra's babies with tenderness. Paris asks if the rocks killed all the enemies, to which he responds that it didn't. This makes Magra worry if they'll survive the day. Meanwhile, the army calls Baba as they think Magra is the reason for the Witchfinders' attack. Hearing this, Magra panics, but Paris assures her that Baba will take care of it. Paris then reveals that Gerla Marel left her a message on her altar on the day Magra arrived at the village. On the other hand, the villagers think they should give Magra and the babies to the Witchfinders so that they can have peace with them. But Baba is ready to fight to protect his family. Suddenly, Arka, Ilun, and Bowlion stand beside him to protect his family. Before a fight starts, Paris arrives, reminding them that they are all Alkenny. She points out that the Witchfinders are halfway up the mountain and will burn an entire village if they're identified as witchcraft, regardless if they give Magra up. As an alternative, she reveals a bridge over a ravine that Gerla Marel built, but some are hesitant since they have lived in their village and haven't noticed a bridge. Paris instructs everyone who believes her to pack their things and tells Baba to have faith. Later, the Alkenny tribe rushes to the bridge, which luckily exists. When the Witchfinders arrive in the village, they find no one. However, a man hears the babies crying, so they follow the sound. The tribe moves gently across the bridge, but several are thrown off balance and fall off. The tribe's people continue with Baba at the end. When the Witchfinders arrive at the bridge, they hear nothing. However, the babies start crying again, so Tamakti pushes Gether into the bridge, confirming that it exists. He then orders his troops to follow, but as soon as Baba reaches the opposite side, he cuts one side of the bridge. When he's about to cut the other side, Gether pleads for assistance, claiming that he was left behind. Because of this, Baba waits for him before cutting the bridge, forcing several of Tamakti's men to fall. Defeated, Tamakti orders a herald to notify the queen. At Kanzua, Queen Kane's palace, the queen prays for guidance and clear paths. She then receives the message, so she informs her lords and ladies that the person who was given the power of light, Gerla Morel, is alive. Kane asks the physician if the power of light can be passed to a child. The physician doesn't think so, but the queen thinks he's lying. She commands everyone to kneel and reminds them that the power of light almost destroyed the world by controlling and twisting God's intentions. Kane then instructs Lady Z to send a message to command Tamakti to find and bring back Gerla Morel along with his children. On the other hand, Magra informs the Alkenny survivors about Gerla Morel. She states that he preaches heresy and has a power that they will consider magical or evil, but almost every human on Earth once had. Gerla Morel told her many of the things that were made by gods were actually made by humans who had the same ability he had, the power to see. She assures them that they'll find sanctuary if they follow Gerla Morel's instructions. For 30 days and 30 nights, the Alkenny tribe goes on a journey to find the sanctuary, following the guides that Gerla Morel left as he instructed in his message to Paris. As they reach the sanctuary, Baba asks the sentier what's in the place, and he responds with everything. Gerla Morel has left them building materials and livestock to start a new village in this paradise. However, Paris reminds Baba that since he's the chief, he should know that the Witchfinder might find them someday, so they must be vigilant. One morning, Baba wanders in the woods with his children. Suddenly, a bear arrives, making him fall and drop his children's bassinet. He tries to hide from the bear, but the babies cry, catching the bear's attention. Desperate, Baba fights the bear to protect them, but an arrow hits the beast, killing it. A man arrives and comments that his children are in good hands. Baba realizes that the man is Gerla Morel. He asks if he'll take the children away, but Gerla Morel says he won't since he's a fugitive and has work elsewhere. As Gerla Morel looks at his children, he smiles and asks Baba to take great care of them. Then, he gives him a key to open a box in a small cave in the sanctuary, instructing him to tell Paris that the things in the box are for his children. Baba asks what's in the box, so Gerla Morel claims it's the knowledge that will begin a new world. As he leaves, Gerla Morel instructs him to name them Haniwa and Kofun, so he'll know when they come for him. Coincidentally, Gether is in the forest, overhearing Baba calling Gerla Morel's name. Gether immediately tells this to his aunt, Southerbax, but she doesn't seem to be bothered since Baba rules their tribe. Gether reminds her that his mother was burned alive for questioning the wisdom of putting Baba as the chief. Soon, Baba returns and tells Magra that he met Gerla Morel in the woods. He then goes to the cave to get the box and takes it home. Meanwhile, Gether and Souther set up a private meeting with a shadow, a mysterious individual who can disguise herself from the rest and conceal her body from detection. Souther points out that shadows are women since men are too clumsy to hide, and even Ayuras and Prasaj can't sense nor hear them. The shadow clicks her mouth to reveal her presence to them and throws a rock. When asked to spy on Paris because they believe she's a witch, the shadow glides and cartwheels around Gether and Souther while making 2 clicks, meaning she will. Later, Baba and Magra open the box and find a toy boat. Then, Paris arrives since Gerla Morel told Baba to consult with her. They search the box and discover several books inside. Unfamiliar with them, Baba wonders how they can create a new world with them. Paris, on the other hand, is aware that these are the secrets of learning. Unknown to them, the shadow quietly observes them. Magra becomes afraid of the idea that her kids might see since she thinks it'll only bring them bad luck and force them to leave their village. Still, she agrees to hide the books until the children are 12 years old, as Gerla Morel instructed. As the shadow continues to observe them, Paris notices and tells Baba by writing on his palm with her finger. However, he is unable to catch the shadow after she leaves. The shadow relays false information to Gether, claiming that the three merely discussed childcare. Gether tells Souther that he'll deliver word about Gerla Morel by throwing bottled up messages downstream 3 times a day until one is located, since he doesn't believe the shadow. Suddenly, he kisses Souther intimately, who returns his advances. One day, Baba approaches Gether to tell him he has trouble sleeping since he can hear things that keep him awake. He fears that someone has crossed over the boundary, spying in his home. Of all the people in their village, he suspects Gether to know who's provoking him, given how his mother died when she opposed Baba. However, Gether claims that he doesn't know. Baba reminds him that he's the law there, but he's a fair man. However, if he hears someone backstabbing him, he'll be the man with a taste for blood and terror like he used to be. Meanwhile, Tamakti has burned another village as he interrogates the survivors about Durla Morel. When an older man says he doesn't know anything about him, Tamakti cuts off his ears. At the palace, Cain listens as a lord reads a letter from Tamakti, requesting to leave his mission and return to Payan since he has failed. When Cain reads the message for herself, she realizes it's a fake since she had an agreement with Tamakti to tie a heart every 10th to avoid forgery. Accusing him of forging the letter, Cain demands the lord to kneel. She reminds him that Tamakti is commissioned to serve 20 years, and he is never humble to admit defeat. She questions the lord on who told him to lie to her, so he admits that there are others who wish to convince her that Durla Morel is lost. Therefore, she should focus on their troubles in the kingdom. Cain asks who tied the false knots on the letter, so he confesses that it was Lord Karn and Lady Z. With that, the queen uses a small blade implanted in her wrist to cut the man's throat. The queen then calls for a servant to pleasure her as she prays. In her prayer, she calls Durla Morel as her one true love. She prays that if he returns to her and gives her children with his power, she will forgive him and renounce the gods because their children will become the gods. The two traitors who try to mislead her are then captured. They criticize Cain for being fixated on Durla Morel rather than the fact that their engines are breaking and water is rising in the kingdom, but she claims to be a god who gives them the life they need. Cain argues that the greater battle she fights is against the light. She then uses energy produced by a turbine to scorch the two to a flaming crisp as a demonstration of her might. 3 years later, the Alkenny has built their new village. Paris visits the children, but senses both sorrow and joy in the air. Magra explains why by showing Paris how the twins find their favorite toy easily and quickly. If she covers their eyes, they can't find it, confirming that they have a vision. This worries the women. Baba joins them, and Paris declares that the twins are the beginning of a new world, so she urges them to tell the truth to the tribe. However, Magra thinks they should hide it since Gether and Souther already suspect them of being witches. That evening, Magra tells the twins a story about how the four senses, scent, taste, sound, and touch, were happy until they were visited by a brother, Vision, who made them curious and worried about their physical selves. They rejected Vision and restored happiness. Magra tells them that the four senses are enough to live a happy life. Years later, the twins' 12th birthday is approaching, and Paris is excited to introduce new knowledge to them. However, Magra reveals that she and Baba have decided never to introduce the books to them to keep the twins safe. Surprising Paris, she tells Magra that someone will find them one day, so the twins should be prepared. However, Magra is still against it. Despite this, on the day the twins turn 12, Paris invites Hanua and Kofun to her home and asks if they could keep a secret. She gives them the books and the instructions that Durla Morel left, revealing to them that Baba is not their true father. She tells them how Magra met their father and how she ended up in the village, already pregnant. Kofun refuses to believe this, so he walks out. Hanua goes to get him, but Paris reminds her never to tell anyone what she told them. In their home, Kofun suspects they are witches, and the stories about Vision are true. However, Hanua refuses, saying she has the truth in her hands. She reads Durla Morel's letter, claiming that most people used to be able to see. However, after they have outgrown the earth and ruined it, God punished them by taking this gift away to save the planet. The letter tells them that the gift of vision is being restored to certain people so they can restore the world. Durla Morel also instructs them to leave the village and locate him once they've grown enough. Baba overhears as Hanua reads the letter, so he confronts Paris. She persuades him that it's the right thing to do and they shouldn't tell Magra. She reminds him that the world doesn't change while they hide, so the twins might be able to change it. She reminds Baba that he wasn't always a good man, so this is his chance to pay the world back. Soon, Hanua and Kofun climb up a waterfall to read a book. Meanwhile, a woman hears a bottle hitting a rock and finds one of Gether's bottles on a river.
Subscribe to watch more videos like this. Turn on notifications. And leave a like, it really helps the channel out. Thank you for watching.